Most control decks have two ways to win the game. Option 1. Grind out your opponents until you outvalue them with your late game cards and seemingly endless card draw. Or Option 2. The combo kill. Or lack of a better term, but I like this one better, the OTK. OTK stands for one turn kill. The goal of an OTK deck is to combine a set number of cards to create a single turn in which you vomit out those cards at once and kill your opponent. The fewer the cards, and the smaller the setup the OTK requires, the more powerful the deck usually is. Traditionally, an OTK requires you to be able to go infinite on damage, or activate some kind of alternate win condition, but that's because other famous card games do not have a health cap, but Legends of Runeterra does. So for us, our OTK only has to do 20 damage. Lee Sin is the closest thing we have to an OTK strategy in Legends of Runeterra right now. We had another one, but Riot kinda killed it. But before we continue, let's talk about the champions, starting with Zoe. Zoe is a 1/1 elusive unit that on Nexus Strike creates a super cool start chart. If you have one in hand already, she will instead reduce its cost by 1. Zoe is the gas of this deck. You want to attack with her as often as possible to get as many super cool start charts as you can for level up fuel for Lee Sin. Although leveled up Zoe opens up some interesting plays with Sparkfly and the Trickster, allowing you to sneak in some victories if your main one fails, it's not her main purpose. She's the roadie of this deck, and I advise you not to use too many resources to keep her alive. You're gonna want to save those for the star of this deck, Lee Sin. Lee Sin is the Swiss Army knife of Legends of Runeterra. He's an incredibly diverse champion, because he can protect, he can attack, and most importantly, he kick back. Let me explain. Lee Sin is equipped with both Challenger and Barrier, which he can use to kill units while protecting himself, as well as being able to shield himself during a block. But the most important aspect about him is his level 2, and the ability Dragon's Rage. Basically, when Lee Sin challenges a unit, he then casts his ability Dragon's Rage on the challenged unit. When the ability resolves, instead of Lee Sin fighting the unit fairly, he instead back kicks the shit out of said unit into their nexus, dealing his power to both the nexus and the unit. If the unit survives, it gets recalled back into your opponent's hand. Now, here's where things get fun. After Lee Sin kicks the unit, combat plays out as normal, and Lee Sin will still go for an attack. But because the unit is no longer there, instead he'll just do a little dance on the spot. However, if you give Lee Sin Overwhelm, he will instead deal his full power to the Nexus a second time, since the unit he was supposed to attack is no longer there, basically allowing you to deal double Lee Sin's power to the enemy Nexus in a single attack. So now let's get to the actual strategy. Throughout the game, you're mostly going to play reactively, throwing out blockers, drawing cards, and prepping denies and stupefies to protect your champions. However, there is another card you may want to go out of your way to protect, because he will repay you by keeping you alive, and this little guy is Eye of the Dragon. Eye of the Dragon is one of your most important cards, as this little dude will constantly pump out 2/1 lifestealers round after round after round, keeping your Nexus healthy while providing small chump blockers. And with the sheer number of gems and invoke cards this deck can pump out, getting his trigger to go off each and every round will be no problem. Now, I think this is an important thing to talk about because counterspells are cards that exist, and they are very important to your survival and provides a safety net when you're about to kick some faces in. But there's no real advice I can really give you, but keep in mind that how you manage counterspells is a big part of how well you can pull this deck off. So all I can really say is when using a counterspell, think forward and ask yourself some questions. Am I going to need this later? Do I really want to throw out a deny for this Eye of the Dragon? Etc, etc. Although I call this a control deck, combo decks are technically their own archetype. And this deck has the capability of winning as early as turn 6, as you can drop a Lee Sin on 5 with some spell mana, leveled from the previous turn, spamming card draw after card draw and invoke after invoke. Go to turn 6, cast Zenith Blade, drop some gems, and blast ass on that Nexus. Lee Sin Zoe is an incredibly fun deck, a combo deck that is fairly consistent because of the sheer amount of draw this deck contains. I implore you to give this deck a chance, as it will make for some hilarious turnarounds.
I thank you, Dragon.
That's all for this one. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you guys in the next time. Have a nice day.